Dead Candy. Dedicated entertainment for the dead.
Spoiler alert, Slash's Paradise encourages viewers to watch these horror films before listening to our show. Danny and Lance will go through everything, including filmmaking, dialogue, characters, and even full scene breakdowns when we get excited. Enjoy the show.
Hey, Slashers! Guess where I am? Tied to a freaky chair, the creepiest house on the block, just like Carolyn in The Conjuring. Don't worry though, bros. I'm not getting exercised. I'm just exercising my right to give you the slash word of the night. Tonight's slash word is house. Anytime Lance or Danny say it, you gotta slam a drink, bro. And I got just the mix for you. Try a haunted highball. It's rum, ginger beer, lime juice, and just a splash of cranberry. Spicy, sweet, and creepy enough to keep the spirits happy. Whoa. This flick is gnarly. Paranormal scares, creepy clapping games, and demon moms who could totally shred on the surf if they weren't, possessed. And hey, be careful with this episode, dudes. Lance and Danny are dropping real personal ghost stories this time. Lance is out here sounding like a bedtime storyteller at a haunted summer camp, and Danny, that guy shares so much, even the spirits are like, bro, TMI. So pour yourself a haunted highball. Play the clap game if you dare. And remember, if you hear two hands clap in the dark, it ain't Warrens. It's me coming for you.
Yep. And that's why I'll never eat popcorn and play hide and clap at the same time. It's just the butter. I couldn't.
Oh, right. You can't. Wait, yeah, I make like a smacking buttery sound, I guess. Oh, welcome to Slash's Paradise. That's Danny. I'm Lance. Turn off the lights, crank up the sound. It's The Conjuring.
Oh, baby. Sweet baby nothing. Sweet mother of pearl. Holy jumping Jesus Jack Christmas. We're here. It's time to conjure up one of the scariest movies of all time, and Slash's Paradise is jumping right into it. God bless it. It's happening.
Bold statements. That's what we're about here. Bold statements. We've actually mentioned The Conjuring several times, and this is another request. It's been on the list. Danny said one of the best horror movies of all time. Definitely one of the creepiest, scariest. Like I said, there's many different versions of Slash's Paradise movies in the way that we do our episodes. This isn't one of the fun 80s slashers. There's no like uncle or grandpa fun character to like really go in on and have some fun with. This is the turn off the lights, light a candle. This is some scary shit going on. The Conjuring.
I'm going to go ahead and co-sign that setting that you set up there, Lance. Yes, definitely turn off the lights, put on a candle. But in preparation for this episode, I decided, because, I'm a new dad and time is of the essence of squeezing in little things here and there, as well as balancing being with my daughter. I was like, hey, she's having her little morning nap. Let me go and turn on the extras of The Conjuring and kind of just refresh on some of the things that I, had already seen, but I want to refresh on some of the behind the scenes stuff. Folks, if you think that the sun and all the daylight is going to protect you and make scary movies less scary, I have news for you. If a scary movie is scary, it will be scary no matter when you watch it. That being said, I think in the middle of the day is when you're the most quote unquote safe, especially if you're leaving like the sunlight in through the windows and they're hitting your TV and it's causing a glare and it's like, and then there's a lot going on. But in the early morning and the late night, I think it's all about what it boils down to, sound. But I'm like, let me just watch the fun little extras, get myself into it. And, I got into it for sure. And I text Lance. I said, Lance, I'm scared, man.
Yeah. It was like 11 in the morning or 10 in the morning or something. I was like, already? We're getting into it. I've talked about this before. There's certain movies that I love to just pop on in the middle of the day. I think like Friday the 13th, once you've seen them, at night and you've gotten scared, once you get used to them, you kind of just throw them on. You love having them on during the day. Then there's these kind of movies. And I did this with Hereditary, actually. I watched it at night for the first time, got freaked out. And then I watched it during the day the second time. And I was like, I'm still freaked out. Like there's still so much to it. So The Conjuring, yeah, I can definitely see. I did the opposite of you on this viewing. I had all the lights off and I cranked the sound so loud that like the house was rattling. I even got like a knock from the neighbor. Like, you okay? Everything good over there? Because the sound in this movie in particular hits you out of nowhere. Crashing, banging, but also the dead silence. And that's really where there's some really fun technical parts of this movie that I really want to get into. But before we do all that, we have business to take care of here. Danny, give us the Pina Colada for The Conjuring.
I would love to do that, Lance. Thank you so much. Here is the Pina Colada for The Conjuring. Haunted house. Ed and Lorraine Warren, historically famous paranormal investigators, go to help a family who is terrorized by a ominous, haunting, evil presence in their newly moved into farmhouse. Based on a true story, based on the actual accounts of real life paranormal investigators, Ed and Lorraine Warren. You know them from their investigating with the Amityville haunting. This, according to their records, was the haunting that was the most malevolent and the most terrifying, that they never wanted to talk about it until this movie. And that is The Conjuring.
All right. The movie was released July 19, 2013. Damn, that was a while ago. The movie was written by Chad and Carrie Hayes, directed by James Wan. Is this our first James Wan movie?
I think so.
Wow. All right. Starring
and perfect.
And perfect. Starring Vera Farmiga, Patrick Wilson, Ron Livingston, Lily Taylor. The movie had a budget of $20 million and a box office of $319.5 million, raking it in. That's my breakdown there. What I remember about this movie and the time that it came out, I felt personally like horror movies are really struggling for me. There's gems here and there, but I feel like from like 2008 to like 2013 when this movie actually came out, it was a skid where I was like, I'm not even gonna look. I don't even care. Everything's PG-13, or it's a remake, or it's Final Destination 5, or whatever it was. Like everything was just like kind of boring, and I don't want to see it. And I remember the trailer for this one, and all I remember was like, oh, what's the gimmick for this one? And it's the clapping hand thing going on. I was like, oh, there's the gimmick. It's a ghost in the back. I was wrong. I was definitely wrong, but I missed it in the theater because of what was going on at that time. I hadn't seen Insidious yet. I didn't know what James Wan was at that time. You know, horror movies needed something new, and this was it.
Yeah, for me, I remember either actually going and watching Insidious or going and watching some movie that this trailer did come out. And I'll never forget it. I was driving home with Buddy, and I was driving, and we were so jacked up from the trailer. We were so pumped. there was a buzz that was already kind of coming out from it. And I do believe, I was very much, when Insidious came out, I watched it in theaters, scared the shit out of me. I think that was a part of the hook that got us very excited, was that it was coming from James Wan. So, because this came out after Insidious, right? Insidious was like a year or two before.
I think 2011.
Okay, so same cast-ish, at least in Patrick Wilson, but James Wan was already slowly becoming one of my favorite horror filmmakers to date. I put him up there with a lot of the greats. I think he has an amazing ability to tell stories, to build tension. His shots are unique, and he is so focused. He knows exactly how to shoot static rooms, and then he does like rack focuses and fun stuff like that are a part of like real good directors like repertoire. But this dude is, I love every horror movie he's ever done. I love some more than I do others. But when I tell you that we were driving home from the movie after seeing the trailer, and my friend was just on his phone Googling more about, because it's based on a true story. And I really hadn't heard about Ed and Lorraine Warren. Honestly, I'd be lying if I said I did. I know that they were famously like raked through the coals as far as like being like kooks and things like that when Amityville was happening, because they were the experts brought into consult on that thing. It was obviously very famous haunting. And then other famous hauntings, they were like brought in, and folks really like to poke and prod, because it's and I think that's going to be the theme of this movie and anyone's movie going experience coming away from it, if you're going to be scared or not, is going to rely on your personal beliefs of the paranormal, the afterlife, heaven and hell, the devil, things of that nature. Really do have to factor into your own personal beliefs, I think, if this movie is going to be as scary. That being said, when he was reading from his phone and talking about this particular haunting and why I had never heard of it, he had never heard of it, and it was that kicker, the thing I try to pepper into the pina colada, which was they have over, 10,000 investigations, they being Ed and Lorraine Warren, and this was the one that they found to be the most evil, the most malevolent, the most sinister out of all of their investigations. So of course, that's clever marketing, but it got me in the fucking room. I was very excited to watch the movie, and it did not disappoint. Before we get into the nitty gritty, I already kind of said it in the beginning, it is one of my favorite horror movies, and I will put it up there with one of the scariest movies of the genre. That's just me, because one of the scariest movies I believe of all time is The Exorcist, and that resonates with me because I was brought up Catholic. I believe in the paranormal and hauntings and all those things, the spirits and demons. I believe that it all exists. So pepper all that into a movie experience of watching these things that rely heavily. Those themes are very much prevalent, that if you believe in that stuff to be happening, well, get ready for the roller coaster, because James Wan knows how to tell that story.
Absolutely. I've mentioned in our other episodes, this movie has one of the scariest scenes to me. And it's because of what Danny just said. It touches a part of my past and my connection to these things, to the spirituality, to ghosts, to demons, to all that kind of stuff. And we'll get to the scene eventually, but the connection I have to the movie is based on what James Wan kind of tells us through the children, through the perspective of each of the characters and the connection that kind of comes with that. We love to open it up. This is a different kind of movie. This isn't like about a town. There's no town that we can really tell, but establishing what this movie is. We always love to talk about the opening scene and how it establishes the movie. Danny, what do you think of the opening scene? I almost was like, wait, am I watching the right movie? It's a different one. It's talking about something else that we get back to later. But what do you think of the opening? I just want to kind of dive in.
I think what was exciting about the rewatch, because I do also want to say that, yes, in the early morning, I watched the movie extras, but in the Slasher's Paradise here, which is its own version of a sensory deprivation chamber. If you turn off all the lights, no matter what time of the day it is pitch black if you want it to be. So I was watching it, and Lance touched on it about not only the sound, but the absence of sound is also impeccably done with this movie. So as it relates to the opening is a bit jarring when the opening credits, New Line, Warner Brothers, start. There's a bit of like some jarring like music. I would make it sort of in the realm of the beginning of when you see the Insidious title in the movie, where it's like, it's like that high screeching like fiddle. It's along those lines, but then at the drop of a hat, the sound leaves, and it's like moments. It's like high tension music, and then I'm going to show you a jarring image, and the sound's gone. And in this case, it would be the half image of the Annabelle doll in the opening. So, Lance, are you saying that you were wondering like, hey, am I watching the right movie, or what am I watching because of all the amazing, at least par for the course spin-offs that have come from this movie?
Yeah, the whole opening is Annabelle. It's people dealing with the Annabelle doll. And I was like, wait, did I turn on the right movie? Is this the opening? I forgot that this was the opening. It was kind of crazy, but yeah, it is about the Annabelle doll. And 3 people actually give permission to what they think is a ghost to take over the Annabelle doll because the ghost wants to stay with them or whatever. So they give them permission to take over the Annabelle doll, and it unleashes this scene of basically, I don't know if it's dated for me. I don't know what it is about the opening scene, but I was kind of turned off this viewing. Again, I guess remember it from the first time I've seen it, but this time I was like, okay, I guess the movie was shot chronologically, so I'm guessing that this was like everyone getting their feet wet kind of a thing. I don't feel a connection to it, but the Annabelle doll is on the loose, leaving notes for, was it 2 or 3 nurses? I think
at least 2 nurses, but there's 3 girls in total. Yeah.
Yeah. Leaves a note. Do you miss me? Was that what the note says?
It just says miss me, ?
Miss me, ? Written in crayon. Creepy. Sure. Yeah. There's a lot of like little bits of creepiness. I don't think it hits as hard as what's to come in this movie. It doesn't quite set the tone for me. Annabelle the doll is creepy. And again, everything is loosely based on truth, including the entire story of the Conjuring and the original family. The Annabelle doll was actually a Raggedy Ann doll. I think we've looked it up. We've seen it before. Very basic doll, you know what I mean? Instead of the Annabelle doll, which is like carved out of wood and all that kind of stuff. It is very creepy. The opening scene has her sitting in the hallway with crowns everywhere, and has completely crowned down an entire room. There's, I think what it comes as the creepy part is the Warren saying, no, this is a demonic thing. And the reveal of what it actually is more scary than what is happening. That happens a couple times in the movie, where every time that they're revealing, oh no, we've dealt with this before. This is what it is. You're like, oh shit, like I'm dealing with something real here. It's not just a friendly ghost that wants to be in a doll. It's a demonic thing that wants to be in a doll and wants to attach itself to you. So it's using this object to get there. So that's the scariest part for me. The scene itself is okay, but doesn't really set the mood to me for the film.
I'm going to hard disagree. I think, though, I think I don't want to speak for why you might think it's dated, but I can guess that maybe at this point, because we've seen the Annabelle doll ad nauseum now
could
here
be.
in 2025, and even I don't know, it was either a scary movie or somebody when they're like there's like a whole parody at this point of putting the Annabelle doll in like precarious situations. Anyway, I agree with you though as far as what is the scary part of the opening, which is Ed and Lorraine Warren talking about, wait, what did you do? And they say, we did this. And they're like, oh, no, you shouldn't have done that. And I don't care who it is, but anytime someone does okay, so I grew up in a lot of these moments where you're with your cousins and, you know, as it turns out, like my whole family, some are more gifted than others as far as like awareness of spirits and such.
Yeah.
There some of my aunts and uncles can like walk into a room and be as affected as like Lorraine Warren is depicted. And then there's some like me who can sometimes feel it, but then other times I'm just kind of oblivious to it. But all that to say is that like that reminded me of growing up. I don't know if you were, I mean, I think almost every kid went to some sort of party or gathering or whatever, and someone pulled out the Ouija board and somebody was trying to be like, let's, you know, make contact and stuff. And it hit close to home for me. That moment really kind of set the bar for me because it's like, oh, I've been there. I've been there when someone, you know, comes in and they're like, what did you do? You did what? And
Yeah.
I remember how like terrifying it can be because quite honestly, if you do believe in these things and you do believe in ways to contact the other side, you should also know that like there are some people who just don't know what the hell they're doing and they get themselves stepping in it because they were like,
yeah.
oh, we were just having fun and we thought blah blah blah. I mean, like, you know, other movies touch on it in a more like cheesy way. Maybe eventually we'll cover Witchboard, which is definitely hilarious in that regard, but it's still, you know, around that parameter of folks not taking it seriously. And what I see, what I want to mention though about why I think it sets the tone is because it's trying to set the importance of the authority figures on the subject matter. And right away when I heard Ed and Lorraine explain it, I got scared because, you know, how many times have we maybe played in the past with tarot cards and Ouija boards or something like that? And it's like, I'm just going to go get my cards right. It's fine. And it's like, well, are you sure that you're that you're channeling the right sort of spirits and stuff? So I actually just got chills right now talking about it. And that's going to happen like kind of like throughout this entire episode, folks.
Yeah, for sure.
And you know what? Like, you know what? Fuck it. If a movie can do that to me on a regular basis, then what the hell is going on here? Okay. And I'll watch Halloween. I'll watch them all. I'll watch all our slasher movies because there's a level of comfort. There's a level of like, it's scary, but there's not too scary. But the things that get you, you know, because they tug on all the right heartstrings or whatever the case may be. I mean, you also have to add that into like the director and the setup and the source material. All of it has to play in together. And I just feel like, when I hear them telling those folks who did not know better, it got me all in the chills for sure. But speaking about the opening though, it does continue to where Ed and Lorraine are on a bit of a lecture series. They're in front of like a class and like you would assume like a college and stuff. So you really haven't seen the title cards. You've just seen acting, you've just seen like the scenes, right? The, you know, Annabelle and all this stuff and the things that you mentioned. And then they're fielding questions, and which is really fun because it plays up how, you know, kind of aware they are. At least that's how they're depicting them in the film.
Right.
We don't, the real Ed and Lorraine might have been like very offended by being called, you know, kooks or people who, you know, prey on other people's weaknesses. Any case, The thing that gets me, though, and this is not unique to this movie, it is unique, I think, to the horror movie genre, is that once they say, so what do we call you guys? He's like, oh, we've been called demonologists, paranormal investigators, kooks, ha 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 ha, everybody's laughing. And then Lorraine comes, forward. She says, but we would just simply like to be known or referred to or called Ed and Lorraine Warren. Pause, freeze frame, slow roll of the text. Oh my, setting the scene, setting the mood. Where have we seen that? Of course, like the movie you're about to see, right? Texas Chainsaw Massacre style.
Texas. Yeah.
Yeah. There's no narration for this, but eventually the slow scroll sets the table, and then you see the main title card. Oh man, that gets me. I mean, honestly, it really does.
It's funny because part of me kind of thought Star Wars too. It's the scroll up, but Texas for sure. And the 70s is when this is happening. It's like 1971, and James Wan actually was kind of focused on the cinematography from the 70s and the horror films, which we get into a little bit later. But yeah, the slow crawl, but the editing to go right into another scene, it's really just great editing and cinematography to set up everybody. And then we meet the family from here that's going to go to the house basically. But yeah, it was a good setup for the Warrens. I think maybe the opening scene with the nurses and their friend is maybe it's just their acting. I don't know what it is, but it kind of turned me off. But you're right. Once we get to the lecture, the stage is set for, these people are likable, but they're serious and they know what the fuck they're talking about. So I'm like, all right, let's go. And then the slow crawl, and it's like, okay, now we're getting serious again, which is something I mentioned, right? Turn off the lights and turn up the sound, because here we go. When we meet the family, it's so funny. It's like, the pace of the movie is so crazy because it's almost two stories going off at once. It's the Warrens and then the family. And we go back and forth between the two. So when we meet the family, it's like bang, bang, bang. Here we go. They're going into the new house. And what I thought was so funny this watch was the dog won't go inside, of course, setting up that something's wrong with the house, right? That's the first thing that we know. We've already kind of hit the tone. We know something's going to be wrong with this house, but the whole family walks in. The dog will not go inside. Sadie, the dog, will not go inside. If you've listened to any of our episodes, you know we're huge dog lovers. Don't kill the dog in a movie. Sadie won't go inside. It reminded me of an old story. I might have a few stories for this film. I'm not sure, but
yay.
My old beagle, Charles, I used to live in LA, and I remember we go exploring down the neighborhood, and there was one night it was like super windy, and it was like a neighborhood we didn't know very well. I would just take him for long walks. And I remember turning the corner. It was a very windy night in LA. And I don't know if the power went out or what happened. It was a nice-ish neighborhood, a lot of like bigger, older homes. And the entire neighborhood was completely blacked out. And I was like, why? This is my way home. This is the only way home. We left when it was like the sun was going down and everything was fine. But for some reason, this one block has no lights on. And as soon as we turn the corner to go down this street, Charles stops and starts growling at the middle of the street. We were literally in the middle of the street, starts growling. I'm like, that's not something my dog does ever. He doesn't care. He was like a middle-aged dog. He doesn't give a shit. He'll see another dog, walk right past it, doesn't care. He stops, starts growling. I'm like, oh, fuck, man, this is the way home. Like, we got to go. He will not go with me. He's digging in, kind of like ready for action, but also kind of backing up. Like, let's please not go this way. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Dude, we stood there for like 5 minutes before we went down the block. I was like ready to shit myself. Like, I'm going to get stabbed. Is Michael Myers down there? Like, what's happening right now? So I'm like pulling him, like, we got to go, dude. This is the only way home. This is the neighborhood we got to go through to get home. There's a fucking branch in the middle of the street. And he was like, he saw it. And I was like, oh, yeah, my bad. And we walked on. That was it. But dude, when a dog knows or thinks something's up, it's just like your dog looking in the corner. We just shot something in your garage area and you see Loomis just staring in the corner. You're like, great. I'll go shit myself now. Like when a dog knows, and you got to pay attention to that shit.
Exactly, folks. Lance is right. I know you've had a cat before, and I am dead set against. No offense to anyone who has cats. I know a lot of folks who have cats, but I am dead set against having a cat. And it's not because I don't like cats, although I've never really met a cat that was nice to me. But it's because they walk in both worlds. I know that about cats. Okay.
Why are you looking over your shoulder, Danny?
Because I was waiting for the cat person to come kill me. Listen, I house sat for my cousin one time, and house sitting would be also pet sitting, and they had a mini pincher and a cat. The mini pincher was easy enough. She just wanted to be around me and, attached to me. And that was fantastic. Kind of like my crazy guard dog. I say that obviously tongue in cheek because my guard dog, Loomis, is so adorable. But if there is a robber or anything like that, as long as they're like, hey, how's it going? He's like, oh, okay, come in. You know what I mean? It's the approach that a cat takes where they're like, you're in my world, okay? And I don't need you for shit. Although I do need you to at least put the food in there, but I actually never needed you. So they're, they don't take no shit. When something scares a cat or gets it on high alert, you know that the shit is real and it's about to pick up. So in-house sitting, and of course, I was like, she's listening. She knows when she wants to turn it up and really mess with me, because it would always happen in the wee hours. Me and the mini pincher would be asleep, and she didn't sleep with me or anything like that, the cat, but it's like it was like a 3-story condo, but I was in the second floors where the bedrooms were, and I would just hear thump in the kitchen, and I'm like, great, gonna die. Because if it's a robber, that's one thing, and it's like, oh, I could, maybe we can fight or something like that. But I never ever expected it to be a robber. I always like, it's the entity. Then the cat saw it, and now the cat's gonna do the, and it's almost like that defense mechanism, the growling with the high, and the back is up and all that stuff. It's like, okay, I know you're setting the alarm, right? You're telling me that there's something there, but you are now being scary too. You are terrifying with the whatever, Anyway, all that to say is, so that's why I stay away from cats. But to your point, yes, if a dog sees and is hesitant, animals know, man. But some dogs, I met Charles, Loomis, some dogs are just kind of happy-go-lucky, just, chilling. Yeah. When something gets them, you're like, great, this is how it ends, right? Yep. So in Sadie's case, who's just it's a gorgeous looking dog, she does not want to come inside. Ron Livingston, the dad, is trying to get her in, and she doesn't want to go inside. And, I hope, and I do think that filmmakers have gotten better about killing animals. As the disclaimer says in the beginning, we're going to spoil the shit out of this movie. Sadie doesn't want to go inside, so they leash her up outside, and she doesn't make it because the malevolent, am I malevolent? Is that right? That's like evil, right? That's what I'm trying to say that. Yeah. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Not malevolent. Anyway, the evil spirit. We'll just stay with words, Danny. The evil spirit is so evil it kills the dog. Sadie dies, latched up to the outside post. And what's so sad is that this is a family of, what is it, like 5 daughters or 4 daughters? 5 daughters.
Just 5.
Yeah, 5 daughters. And the youngest one is the one that finds Sadie. And it's just like extra breaks your heart because not only is the dog gone, but the youngest one is the one that found her. So, yeah, The dog knew something was up, but the spirit was like, "Hey, you're not going to blow me up. You're not going to you're not going to, you're not going to blow my cover." So yeah, that sucked, but
malevolent was the right word, Danny. Having
Thank
or
you.
showing a wish to do evil to others. So congratulations.
Thank you so much. The magnificent spirit. See, I messed it up. No.
When we established what I loved about this, when they're establishing the family, there's a shot that follows the daughter through the house, which I love because, again, we don't have a town. We don't have town people to meet in this, but we have the house, which is the main setting. And we follow the daughter in one shot as they're moving in, and you get to meet each of the people through her, and you get an idea of what this house looks like, at least from the lower level, and then looking up to the second floor. I thought that was really cool. It was a really cool establishing shot and it's a one shot. It's just a follow through over the shoulder of her. That kind of leads into everything else. It's not necessarily POV, but it's over the shoulder POV. Yeah. So you get to experience when the hauntings are happening, when the malevolent spirit is at work. But you get to experience it through that character, especially through Carolyn, the mother, and then through some of the kids. But with that is you get to experience it over their shoulder. But then sometimes there's a pull away when they're going into another room. And I just thought that was so great and like suspenseful, because you're like, oh, like now they're away from me. And it just gives you that feeling like when you're a kid in the dark room, you know what I mean? You're like, oh, the room got dark. I'm in the corner. That's the door. And the person that was with me is there. Like the movie gives you such a sense of like, I'm in the house being haunted. So I am with this person that's being haunted. And when they leave you out of the shot, you're like, oh shit, come back. Please come back.
I want to also say that there was so much either hyper awareness to, obviously the setting is that this farmhouse is sitting on about 200 acres of land. There's not really anybody around. I grew up, as you all know, I've mentioned in previous episodes, I grew up in a small South Texas town. Obviously we had our city, but then we had the ranch. And in the ranch, when it gets dark, it's like, we really need to have a plan about how long we want to stay here, or we need to turn on more lights. You know what I'm saying? What this movie does expertly is the light design of how it actually feels in a farmhouse when there is no surrounding light from like city ambiance or anything like that, because it's usually like a crude, just bright light bulb hanging. And multiple times when it gets dark in this movie, it's perfectly like lit. I look at it, I'm like, oh my God, I can feel that, because it's like if someone was outside, they'd be able to see everything inside because the light is so bright and the outside is so dark. If that makes sense, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. I see it. I see the image. It's the dad, and I think he's got the pizza, and the kids are like running around him and stuff like that. He's like, I don't want it to go to waste. And that light is hanging, and you see a window in the foreground, or the background rather, and it's just complete darkness. And yes, some of it was shot on set, or on the lot, right? That was one of the things that the extras showed, but I can't tell when or where. So there was so the static rooms and the zooming in and out when they're going from room to room is done so well. But yeah, the light design as well is done very, very well.
Yeah. I think the outside was shot as a house, and then everything inside was actually done on a set, but basically they rebuilt the house on a set. So that's what they're filming. Maybe that's why you can feel the flow so well. From the outside to the inside. Again, everything's established, how much space there is around the house, and how you can just feel the creakiness and, like you said, the darkness of the rooms and the little bit of light. And it's in the 70s too, so there's no LEDs, there's nothing like that. There's nothing to really bring the light home. And it's just so cool, man. And again, establishing the family. The girls start playing. Oh, Danny's freaking out. Something's in there with him.
I mean, it's Loomis, but he's just
it's just Loomis.
He's just huffing.
We get to play the hide and clap game, so that's a fun little establishing game. It's like hide and seek, but to find the person, you clap, right? So
one person is
hiding. Yeah,
one person's blindfolded, and everyone else goes and hides, and it's almost like a Marco Polo situation.
Marco Polo, yeah.
But yeah, I think that this is the MVP of the movie, the hide and clap game. Yes, there's just something about the way it's shot, and it's like we're just establishing the game. There's no real like fun, uplifting music that's accompanying it, but there is like a level of like creepiness to it. I'm like, but nothing's really happening except for the fact that these girls are playing hide and clap in the house, and it's I feel uneasy just watching them play it because something's around, obviously, and I think that's like that's the terror, right? Is that you're over here screaming, "Get the hell out of the house! You don't need to be playing hide and clap." But they're over here like, "Oh, what a steal," and all this stuff, of course, because this is a phenomenal house that we learned that the family bought because it was auctioned off by the bank. But in playing the hide and clap game, one of the sisters, when she gets found by a very young Joey King, she backs up into a wall, and it is a reveal that the steps down to the cellar, the basement of the house, have been boarded up. And that's how we learn about that area. So something obviously came from playing the game. You established the game, but you also introduce one of the main areas of the movie.
It's funny. Yeah. The whole thing is about exploring the house and children exploring a brand new house. They're so innocent. They don't know any better, but we, the audience, do. It's funny that we're talking about it because now it's taking me back to another childhood moment of my parents used to own a couple of properties and kind of run them, and rent them out. And I remember one house in particular, I was always freaked out by. It was kind of like at the edge of the town, and it's like up on a hill. And I remember like it was like the last house, and then there's a hill that went to the side of it, and there's like a trail, but like you never go down the trail because there's just a bunch of like snakes and tarantulas and all that kind of like crazy stuff out there. But the house itself was like totally normal in the front. And you're like, okay, good vibes in the front, totally fine. It's a tiny little kitchen, living room, 2 bedrooms. But then the back half of the house was so crazy bizarre. I can feel that house in me right now. You would look from the normal part of the house in, and this just this huge space, this dark room. And at the very end of it, the original owners had like built a bar, but then the bar had like 2 little like closets that kind of like went inward. So it's just like this dark space behind this bar with this long room that you had to look into. And I just remember as soon as you cross that threshold of just like, like something feels wrong. I was like 5, 6 years old, when my parents were doing the property thing. And then to the right of it, there's another little room that was just like this odd space. Like it didn't make any sense. It's this tiny little room. And then it had a closet attached to it that had this like sloping roof, but it was like, you couldn't go. It was so weird. It was like so short. Only I could fit into it. Just a really weird house, but you would go exploring. Like I couldn't help my parents with the house. So I would just like go like running around playing and all this kind of stuff. And then end up in this like crazy, dark, scary ass room that I'm still like feeling to this day, that vibe. And that's what I'm saying is this is yet another thing in this movie that touches some part of my childhood. And it just like gets it expertly done. As you said earlier, like, I don't think we've ever used that before, but expertly touches on reality and real feelings and darkness and homes and places that people have lived in and history and all that. So expertly done. The vibe of the house and the exploration from the innocence of the children. Can't get over it.
No, I think I think you touched on the themes, and we're going to touch on them throughout this whole episode. What's important to know about any sort of movie that resonates with one, I think, is the ability to attach it to things that you may have gone through yourself. You mentioned this very unique experience for yourself that is like akin to what you're seeing. You're like, oh, yes, it's not exactly what I may have seen because it's a different house, different circumstances and such. But I would actually like to jump into something that is one for one, something that happened to me, which is there is a scene that's there's too many girls for rooms, but the rooms are ample. So multiple daughters, multiple sisters are sharing rooms. And something that happens in two scenes. One is a bit of a teaser, and then the second time it's, time to play ball, which is the girls are sleeping, they're in their beds, and one of the girls is being messed with by the spirit, by the demonic spirit, by having their foot tugged on from the bed. That shit happened to me. Okay. And I don't even care what sort of rationale may have surrounded it and what it actually was. Was it me kicking in a dream? Maybe. Okay. But the fact of the matter is that I was asleep, a full, deep, dead sleep. And if you talk to my wife, you know that I am the deepest of deep sleepers. So much to the point where she's like, if ever there's like a noise in the house, or like I feel like somebody's trying to break in and I wake you up, I feel like you're going to blow our cover, because when I get woken up, I'm like, what's it? Who did it? Sort of thing.
Oh no. Stress.
So it's like when you're you have to get up early, like to your parents have to drive you to like the bus drop off because you're gonna go on a school trip or something, and your parents are like, hey, you know what, just wake me up at 3 a.m. You're like, no, I'm not gonna do that. You want me to wake you up and then you get mad at me because I woke you up? It's like, what happened? Mm-hmm. And it's that jarring effect. But what did happen to me is I was woken up because I swear on everything to this day, I cannot explain anything else but the feeling of having something pull on my foot to wake me up. Mm. It woke me up. Wow. I sat up, I looked around, and I tried to, your eyes have to adjust, obviously, right? Because I don't sleep with night lights or anything like that. I mean, there is some light coming from like a plug-in or something somewhere. So your eyes can't adjust. And I'm looking and I'm looking and I'm looking. And it's like, as you blink your eyes that many times, you're going to make figures in the dark. So I just try to figure it out. And then, I just obviously was still very sleepy and tired. And I was able to go back to sleep. No problems. But the fact of the matter is that it felt real to me. And when I saw it happen in this movie, I did like the Stefan from SNL. I'm in the theaters and I see it happen and I go, my hands go over my mouth. I am so terrified. And I'm like, wait a minute. Someone read my mind. Someone being the writers, who are twin brothers, by the way, just in case, I saw them in the extras. But yes, that was so scary. And when I say that you see the scene and it's a teaser the first time, it is. They're picking on the Joey King character, and they yank her foot and she's like, leave me alone. She's blaming her sister who's in the room with her. And they're both kind of doing like the sleep talk to each other, like, it's not me.
Leave me alone.
Yeah. And it's like, stop farting as well, because it's obviously, the stink is a part of demonic infestation. If you smell something really, really terrible, that is also attributing. It's like, it's the chill, the stink, and something else. I forget it. Damn it. I could have been awesome. It's from Night of the Demons. But so they are all talking about how cold it is. They're all talking about how much it smells. And dude, it's just, Here's the thing, and the last real point I'll make, speaking about the writers, before I forget this, is one of the things that was really interesting was when they wrote the script, they gave it to James Wan, the director. He's like, "This is fantastic. There's just too many scares. You have too many scares in this script, this draft," and they were like, "Oh, we thought we were making a horror movie that needed a lot of scares," or like, "That's what a horror movie is." He's like, it's the tension. So they cut a lot of these scares down. And that's the point of why I think he's a phenomenal filmmaker, is because you'll be watching this movie and you're thinking, this is where they're going to kick me in the nuts. And they don't. They just build the anticipation and the tension, and it is palpable. And this scene, the first time that the girl gets her foot tugged on, is definitely setting the scene, setting the stage, setting the table for the next time they revisit this moment.
Yeah, you just hit on another one. The smell again. Been there, done that. Felt the chill. Definitely smelled the smell out of nowhere. It was at like a haunted old school from where I'm from. Actually, my hometown has a ton of like small little like haunted areas and cults and history, dark history. And I ended up at this like elementary school that had like burned down, was the story. Don't know if it's true, but it burned down like decades and decades and decades ago. And now it's like another establishment. It's got a fence around it. But I was just like hanging there at like 1 a.m, a long time ago. And I was like you said, you start to see images in the darkness, you start to make things up. I'm like, what is that? And I get out of the car for no reason. And I start walking out, and it's in the fucking woods. It's, I shouldn't say what town it's in, but start walking, and it's just trees and trees in this old tiny school. And all of a sudden I'm like, okay, there's nothing here. Right. But it's like, it goes dead quiet. There's no crickets. There's nothing. I'm like, oh, like it's freezing cold all of a sudden. It's in the middle of June. I think it was June. It was literally June. And then all of a sudden I smelled the sulfur, like straight up, like burning the fart smell. Like just, oh, what is that? Like something was wrong. And right then I was like, something's wrong. And I almost felt like somebody was behind me, between me and the car. It was only like 10 feet at that point. And I remember running back to my car, like, I got to get the fuck out of here now. But again, something else that we can connect to, just terrifying shit. How old were you when you got your foot tugged? Did you mention?
It's 2025, so 3 years ago.
Oh, this is when you were an adult?
It's when I was in this house.
Ooh.
So we're going to do a little test. And my wife doesn't like me talk about like, hey, I think I sensed something and blah, blah, blah. So we're going to do a little test. And if she's listening to this part, she's going to be mad at me because I never told her. Oh, well. This is how we do the reveal. It happened to me. It happened to me anyway. So I didn't want to scare her because like I handled it. I have my holy water and I have my sage, and bing, bang, boom. We're rocking and rolling. I will also say though that there's two major elements that I think make this movie work for a viewer. And if you have them both, I think that's why it's checking all the boxes. In my case, it checks the two major boxes that I think are prevalent in this movie: the theme of the haunted house and the theme of the paranormal attached to faith-based paranormal, i.e. demons, devil, Satan is real, things of that nature. So depending on your exposure to those two major elements, because one can go and feel a haunted house, right? And not necessarily have grown up in a religious household. And one can say, oh, I equate that to being that there are demons and possession can happen and things of that nature, but not necessarily have been to a haunted house or felt the haunted house vibe. If you feel both, I think that's great. And this movie is going to knock it out of the park for you. But why I think it works is because both of those things they're obvious, not obvious. They're evident in the movie, and it doesn't it doesn't necessarily draw that line, which saying, oh, you don't believe in God, you don't believe in heaven and hell and all these religious aspects. Well, then I don't know if this movie's going to scare you. Not saying that that's where The Exorcist falls in, but some folks who are like, oh, I'm not religious at all. They kind of can put The Exorcist somewhere else in like where they rank horror movies. But people have been to haunted houses and scary, sort of feelings of that nature. So that's why I think this movie is going to, always stand the test of time, because it's like, well, one of these things probably you will resonate with. So, to your point, you have dealt with a lot of more haunted house sort of like scenarios as you were growing up. For me, yes, but for me, it was definitely that education on demons and the saints and the angels and things of like that nature. So possession is a big theme in this movie, and that is the one that really gets me.
Yeah, it attaches to your soul. There's just a different feeling with these kind of films, possession and the demonic possession kind of stuff. One thing you mentioned was the scares. This movie doesn't have a whole lot of violence, a whole lot of gore. It doesn't even say the F-bomb very much. It was rated R, but it was solely based on the amount of scare factor that the movie has. And I thought that was really interesting, because the scares of this movie to this day, to this last viewing I had of it, just it goes down your spine. The way that they're shot, the way that they're presented, it very much is that, did I see that? What did I just see out of the corner of my eye? And then there's a payoff, there's points where they walk into the room and you're like, wait, did I just see what I think I saw? Or like, is that the vibe? Or a character specifically sees it and nobody else sees it, and you have to witness that horror, which I think is the second scene you wanted to talk about, which is my favorite scene and one of the scariest, at least of the last 2 decades, but something that I go to all the time, again, because it relates to experiences I had as a kid. Do you want to go ahead and paint it up for us?
I hope you're referring to the second time the girls are in the room.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so
I just gave me chills right now.
Yeah, because listen, both Lance and I have siblings, and if you are in a room with other folks, as in like your sister or a significant other, maybe there's a level of comfort. You're like, well, they're here and it's fine. Strength in numbers, all that bullshit, right? I call it bullshit because it actually is that. If something wants to get you, it doesn't matter who's in the damn room, okay? It's going to get you. So in this scene, it is so well acted by a young Joey King. I feel the terror that this actor is experiencing. I feel it. It is just dripping off the damn screen. So what's the scene? Again, toe foot gets yanked and she's saying the same thing. Oh, damn, it stinks, and she's getting at her sister again. And what's different now is that not only did her foot get yanked, now she's going to get yanked harder, and it almost pulls her off the dang bed. That's when she's like, oh shit, I'm awake now, and sits up. And when she sits up, oh shit, I'm giving myself the chills, man. Woo!
Dude,
rock and roll, baby. She sits up and she looks behind the open door to the room, and she is starting to be incredibly scared. She is so scared. She is so filled with terror. Tears are welling up in her eyes. Obviously she did the thing of like looking under the bed and things of that nature earlier on, but this time it's like, oh shit, I see something. And she's sitting up to the point where her sister Nancy wakes up and sees that she's, sitting there, and she's like, hey, are you okay? And in like the most like breathy, broken tone, she's trying to tell her sister that someone is standing behind the door. And her sister is like, what do you mean? I don't see anybody there. Gets up and goes to the door and looks around, and she's like, I don't see anybody. There's nothing here. And now her sister is facing back to, I don't want to call her Joey King, but I know it's Nancy and because Christine is played by Joey King. Nancy is played by Haley McFarland. Two very, very great acting jobs in this scene, because Nancy's looking back at Christine, and Christine's still petrified in the bed, and she's starting to cry. And she's like, there's someone there, and Nancy doesn't see him because, well, that's the damn trick that this stupid, I say stupid because it's so evil, stop terrorizing the kids. But it's like, Christine can see her, Nancy cannot. And she's like, where is she? She's standing right beside you, to the point where that is so convincing to Nancy that Nancy does the slow turn to where Christine is saying that the person or the spirit or whatever is there is standing. And once she finally looks to where you think either the spirit's going to make itself aware or something's going to happen, the door slams shut. Here's the part that stuck with me, Lance, is that now Christine is letting up. She's blood murder. It's crazy. She's screaming her lungs out. So her parents come, they, open the door, and they go and they console her because they flip on the lights. And when they flip on the lights, you see she's still terrified and she's crying, and she's like in the bed, and they like hug her, and she's like, there's someone here in the room, and they're standing in the corner. But now the lights are on and everybody can see, and they see that nothing's there, but she's still crying. She's still so upset. And she's like, they said they wanted to kill my family. Like, so heartbreaking, but nobody can help her. And here's the part of the whole scene that sticks with me, is the look on the rest of her sisters' faces. It is the sweetest, most innocent thing. Obviously now, folks, I'm a dad, and watching this is different now, because it's like, before it was like, get the hell out of the house, kill or be killed, or whatever the heck, fight or flight. If it was me. But it's like, when the dad rushes in and does not even like think about it, I'm there. It's like, I will run into the fire to help. But how powerless he probably must have felt in that moment, because he's like, I don't know how to help you because there is nothing there. But that's not the part. It's the look on Nancy's face. She's got her glasses, and she's just kind of like looking so like concerned for her sister, who's obviously very upset. And that moment, that look has stuck with me, because we see them kind of cutting it up with each other and having fun and playing, games and such like that. And you think, hey, like, oh, that's just my weird sister or sibling, whatever. And it's just like, no, we know something's wrong, and I'm concerned. And just that image has stuck with me forever. But holy moly, folks, you never see anything. You just imagine what is there based off of Joey King's performance. Such a great scene.
One of my favorite probably horror movie scenes of all time. I've mentioned it on the podcast several times. My take on it, you did it masterfully. When Christine is losing it, it's a slow melt, and they just take the extra time for everything. There's one extra beat for everything. She slowly melts. And in my head, I'm like, she's seeing it manifest right now. She's seeing it in the corner, slowly manifesting. And you can see it through her. Like, you can see whatever it is slowly coming up, even though it's not actually there, even though you can't actually see it, but through her eyes, you can. And Nancy's reaction, is just the older sister, just like, okay, I got it. There's nothing here. Don't worry about it. And seeing her sister, Christine, on the bed, just losing it. When I was a kid, this is why this one hits me hard. I shared a bunk bed with my sister until I was like 3 years old. And I had like weird images and visions as a 3-year-old, which is kind of crazy, nightmares and stuff. But then I got my own room at 4, and from 4 to like 10 or something like that, late nights, maybe like 3 in the morning, I just couldn't sleep as a kid. It wasn't my thing, but my whole family was asleep and it was bedtime. So I was like, all right, well, we go to bed. And I just kind of sit there in the dark, and I would just stare at the room and stare out the window, and my imagination would just blow up to the point where I was like, something's in the room with me, and I'd be frozen to my bed, looking at the door, looking at the closet, looking behind the door. I've had so many of those experiences that this scene just perfectly set it up to my experience. And I was like, it's just so terrifying to me. Even though you see nothing, you can feel it. You can feel it through her. I connect to that scene so amazingly. Even when Nancy has her reaction, and you said it, she slowly turns back, but there's one extra beat where it's like, I remember thinking like, oh, if I was fucking around, I thought my sister was full of shit, I would just like swipe back. So she had time to do anything, but she stops and just looks at Christine for a hard second or whatever, and then does the slow turn. And also at this time, there's not music playing, but there's this like rattling sound that's getting louder and louder and louder and louder and louder. And then it stops and dead silence. And that's when the door slams. And again, it's like, crank up the volume for this, because you will jump out of your skin. I feel every single scare in this movie through my spine. It just gives me chills thinking about this scene. And it's so perfectly done, and nothing's even there. You know, it's just the imagination, the tension is just beautifully done. And it's my favorite scene.
Yeah. And well done, sir. Yeah, absolutely. The crux of the entire plot needs to be, I think, dove into right now. So there is a evil spirit, there is a demonic presence, and we established that those things exist in the beginning scene when the nurses are duped by what they hear they think is a friendly ghost that wants to attach itself to the Annabelle doll, but in all actuality, a demonic spirit wants to attach itself always to a living soul, a living person, right? Well, what we have here is a main evil spirit that is, well, its MO is that it terrorizes the family, or whoever's in the house. Actually, it just terrorizes everybody, but it picks on one specific person of the family to try and beat down, break down, until they can ultimately possess it. And the person of the family that they pick is the mother, always the mother. And in this case, it is wonderfully played by the amazing Lily Taylor, whose character's name is Carolyn. Here is the reason I want to bring this up right now, is because some of the things that the demonic spirit likes to do to, did to the real Carolyn that they show in this movie, is they would leave welts and bruises all over the body. And to the point where, and if you have the extras, you can see the interview with the real Carolyn. She talks about, I didn't get out of bed sometimes for weeks, even a month on end, because these welts and these bruises were sometimes like debilitating. I couldn't walk sometimes, and they definitely show that when Carolyn starts to kind of, it's a funny moment. There is some levity in the script. It's like they break in the new house, they being the husband and wife, they break in the new house with a romp in the sack, so to speak. But when she wakes up the next day and they're kind of just like talking about the experience that they had, she's like, "What did you do to me last night? I got this huge bruise." And it's like, damn, he's like, "I didn't do that." But those things start to manifest and start to kind of make themselves even more, more obvious. And that's the reason I want to bring this up, is because the real Carolyn was like, yeah, that's something, because even though this movie takes some liberties, because it's fantastical and it's a movie at the end of it, there are some things that are one for one. Like, that is what happened to the real person. And we are going to show that. And the bruises were definitely it. But you're right about the scare and how they just kind of get to you. And when what fantastic awareness by James Wan to say, this first draft is great. I think we're great here, but there are too many scares. But if that's going to be the scare, Lance, and the scene that you love and is one of your favorites of all time, and quite frankly, I think it is very deservedly of that title, I want to bring up the big scare that is branded on my soul. It is the reveal. While this one that we just talked about relies heavily on your own imagination and hoping or waiting to see what is in there in the corner.
Yeah.
The one I would like to segue into is the reveal of Bathsheba. Bathsheba is the demonic spirit, and the reveal of the Bathsheba ghost or demon is, oh my sweet baby Jesus. This scene scared the ever living shit out of me, y'all. Like, I was not ready for it because I just wasn't. Back to some of the things that have been established. The clap and seek, right? The hide and seek game with the clapping game has been established, but one of the daughters has a bit of a sleepwalking situation where she will sleepwalk and she'll find herself running or walking into like a boudoir, right? Armoire, excuse me. And nothing crazy. She just, kind of like when you're playing Mario and you can't move your character because you're just running up against a wall and you're just kind of like running in place. In the situation here, the little girl just kind of comes to the armoire and just kind of like lightly taps her head on it. And it's just like, it's loud enough to where it will wake up the whole house, but it's just like boom, boom, boom. But then dad comes to the rescue because one of the other daughters says, hey, she's doing it again. I need your help because she said we should never wake her up. He's like, no. You just kind of guide her back to bed. So that happens. And now it's happening again. And we're like, I've seen this, thing again. There she is, banging up her head up against the armoire, and her sister's like, oh yeah, I know what to do, guides her back. But when she's doing so, there's another sister who's sitting on the bed and sees what's happening above the armoire. But that's the thing. Here's the point I'm trying to make, is the way the camera is established. It is a hard pan up to show the top of the armoire, where up on top of it, crouched down, hiding, looking like a freaking, I'm giving myself so many chills. I'm just trying to get through this. Yes. Looking like a gargoyle is Bathsheba, the demonic entity. Folks, here is why I think James Wan is an expert at his craft. He learned something a long time ago that is so true. It is not enough to have the setup, suspense, and the terror all build up, and to where you find the reveal, it's okay looking of a monster. Mm-hmm. He knows, and I'm talking about back to his Dead Silence days with the creepy puppet sort of look of the old woman. He knows what a scary looking motherfucker needs to look like, and he seriously, they went for it with the way Bathsheba looks. She is ugly. She is terrifying. She's got the yellow eyes, and it's not just the fact that she's on top of the armoire, like, waiting for. waiting for you, the audience, to see her. It's not just the reveal, because it's like, how many times have you seen movies where it's like, there's the ghost, and now the ghost is gone, right? It's like, ooh, we'll come back to that later. No, this is like, there's the ghost, and now what? The ghost is going to jump off the goddamn armoire on top of the daughter and like terrorize her and grab her and stuff and she's all icky, right? And she's gross. And now there's that added effect to it. So anyway, that scene is stuck with me, Lance. Stuck.
Yeah. When I say like these scares got down my spine, I think I was like getting up to get a drink of water and happened to look over because I forgot about it. And it just like, fuck. Mm-hmm. It scares the shit out of you. It's also the way it's shot too, is the reveal is so quick. There's a pan up, but there's something that they do in this movie a lot of times where the motion of the camera. It's like you're used to it, it, but then they'll still do a jump cut to the top of the shot or something like that. So it's, okay, we're going up, we're going to see something, but then it like goes right. It like skips 2 frames to get right to her face, which is perfectly lit and perfectly scary. There's movies that, especially at this time, the makeup was good and the reveal was good, but they didn't shoot it this way. And it's shocking. And again, the sound hits you out of silence because you think you're just going into a dark room. Something's going on with one of the kids again, but no, there's something up there. I feel like this was another one where, they kind of pan the camera and you could see something on top of the armoire, but you didn't know that you saw it. You're like, wait, that's the vibe I got in this scene. Like, wait, was there something up there? Again, I'm like, I look away for 2 seconds and then fuck, there it is in my face. It's terrifying. But the way the reveal, how shocking and quick it is, you're like, fuck, werewolf.
Yeah, exactly. I think every time they did such a great job in the way they revealed any sort of demonic spirit or ghost or whatever, whenever they show Bathsheba, whenever she's ready to do her fucking shit, they do it right. So this is one. There's a second scene where, at this point, Ed and Lorraine Warren have been invited to the house because, well, they're being, the house is being terrorized, and Carolyn seeks them out. For their help. But there's and we are going to jump around, but I do want to talk about this scene as well, because, Lance said it earlier that there are basically 2 major narratives. They have the Perrons and you have the Warrens, right? So Ed and Lorraine have their own daughter and their own home where they have all the artifacts of all the hauntings that they've had in the past. But it's suggested that it's, in town, in a rural neighborhood, right? They have neighbors and such. Well, it gets to a point where they move. I wouldn't say move, but they're spending a lot of time with the Perron family, and they're just chipping in around the house to have some semblance of fun and normalcy. And the girls and the rest of the family feel safe when the Warrens are there. So, cut to, there's a moment where Lorraine is helping with the laundry that's hanging on the clotheslines outside, and Ed comes from behind, just kind of like gives her a hug. He's like, "Ooh, I could get used to this because it's nice. It is nice. If demonic spirit notwithstanding, this is a pretty nice getup. This is a pretty ample space. It's a big house. You got the lake. It's very sweet. It's very cool." So when they are not being terrorized, it's actually pretty wonderful. So Ed and Lorraine are like, yeah, I really want to help. We got to help these people. And I'm going to get into this later. Just remind me, because I don't want to skip on why the other part of this movie makes it so good, which is the humanity of all of the characters. Why that's extremely important, and why this is a good movie on top of being a good scary movie. But in this scene, they both agreed, yes, we want to help them. We definitely do. So Ed says, yep, I'll start with the Chevy or the Ford. I can't remember, but there's like an old car that they have there. Then there's something about that too, real quick, real small tangent. There are multiple Conjuring movies, and there's one thing that the Ed Warren character does that it's like he just does like household sort of like chores, and he's kind of a handyman, and he's just kind of like, a well-rounded individual as far as being able to do stuff. And there's something about that, yeah, I can see why the girls feel safe when he's there. You know, he's just like a calming presence. And of course, Lorraine is as well in her own way. And both of them together are just like this, like, you know, dynamic duo. Okay, so he heads out and Lorraine continues with the laundry. And you know something's about to happen just because it's like, why didn't it go with him? Why didn't the movie continue with his scene of working on the car if it's just going to be like nice? No, it's with her. But here is why this scene is so creepy. Remember earlier in the episode when I talked about watching movies during the day and you feel like you're safe? Okay. She's out there
Yeah.
folding clothes in the day. But the clouds start rolling in and the darkness starts to kind of like, you know, overtake the land. But the sun is still out though. So it's like a cloudy day. But it's like there is something extra scary about that, you know, when the clouds are covering the sun and it's like it's still daytime, but there's some sort of creepiness attached to it. Well, that happens and Lorraine's like, ah, shit, something's happening. And when the wind picks up, one of the bed sheets comes off the clothesline and it's going to fly away, but it flies onto an outline of a person. And the sound kicks up, the music kicks up. My chills are all over my body right now. And it's just like, you know, like when you throw you throw a sheet on something and it like takes the shape of the thing you threw it on. That's what happens. And it happens for like a split second. And then the body dissipates and the sheet keeps on flowing. And then it now hits the top window of the house. And when the sheet falls down, it reveals that now up in the second story in the bedroom where Carolyn is taking a nap, is something. You can't make it out, but you know it's Bathsheba. You know it's the demon. And she just kind of like looks at Lorraine and then just kind of walks towards what you presume is where Carolyn is laying. And folks, when I tell you that I cannot believe that the chills are still all over me right now, I am freaking out because just retelling that scene is freaking me the hell out. And yeah, it's just that moment because last thing I'll say, you know how I feel about an entire house, 2 stories, an entire house, windows, not having anything, but one thing is happening. Someone is standing in like a top window and they're the only thing that's going on. There's something creepy about that, given the fact that now this is a demon. But yeah, that
scene. Yeah. I thought it was really well done. I love the way it's shot and I was trying to like figure it out. You know what I mean? It's just a fun, like ghost movie scene, seeing the girl in the window and then turning. And then that's not the end of it though. You know what I mean? Like Lorraine immediately runs upstairs like, Carolyn, I thought I saw something. And we actually see the welts on Carolyn form and it's like a handprint. And at that point, that's kind of like the go button for the rest of the movie. That's like when now Carolyn's possessed.
Yeah,
like,
because
it is interred.
She throws up in her face or whatever, right?
Yeah, it's a whole scene. We get the welt on the hand, and then the witch Bathsheba is in her is like hovering over her and like spews this blood. It's probably the most blood that you actually see in the movie. I think there's only one other scene later on where you get like a little bit of blood, but throws up in her mouth, and then it's like she wakes up and nothing's there, but she's sick and she's got that possessed look like we always see. Like once the person's possessed, all of a sudden they got the eye bags, and then she responds as if she's totally fine. Like, oh yeah, no, I was just sick, and she runs out of the room from Lorraine. But that scene is great, but it doesn't end. That's the crazy part about it. You're getting chills from the opening part of the scare. And then there's the Bathsheba reveal once again, very quick, loud noises. Loud noises. It's terrifying. It's scary to terrifying within 2 quick moments. You know what I mean? So I thought you were actually going to talk about the Warren's daughter scene when she's left home alone.
I am. We are.
That's what. Yeah, I mean, that's what I thought you were going at first with that. Another scene that I kind of forgot about. Like she's left at home with Nana while the Warrens are out investigating the house with the Perrons. And she wakes up in the middle of the night. We've established that the Warrens have this room just full of haunted trinkets, whether they were used for demonic possessions or ghostly possessions or whatever. It's a room filled, and this is a true story. I mean, you can look it up online. They've gone and documented all this. They keep certain items locked up, like the Annabelle doll. But that room is supposed to be locked at all times. So their daughter wakes up and she comes to the top of the stairs. And I swear, like, it felt like a scene out of The Shining, just the way, like, you look up at her. It almost feels like you're looking at the twins in the hallway of the hotel, with just the way they did everything. They aged it so perfectly for the 70s. The wallpaper, it just feels old. When she comes down the stairs, the doors open to that room. And they've already established, do not touch anything in here. They've established telling their daughter not to touch anything. Did you touch anything? Like, we need to figure that out. But she's alone, or she feels like she's alone. Nana's asleep. And that is a terrifying scene because she's like, uh-oh, door's open. Door's not supposed to be open. And then she tries to head back upstairs because she hears the sound. She hears some sort of sound. And that dark cloud that comes at her, and the sound, yet again, it's so disturbing for this little girl. She's so innocent of all of this. Her parents have made the choice to bring all this crap into her house. Again, that innocence, this dark shadow comes down these stairs at her and chases her into a room, and she's locked in there. It's so creepy because then the reveal of Annabelle on the lap of Bathsheba is what's happening. Bathsheba's rocking in a chair behind her. Annabelle's on her lap. Yeah. Bathsheba's brushing her hair and rocking in this chair. Nothing's revealed. You just know what's happening. Like, it's the back of Bathsheba. It's the back of Annabelle, and Annabelle's creepy ass head turns around. It's the sound, that crackling sound, but it's almost kind of fleshy when the doll actually turns its head and looks at their daughter. Dude, that whole scene is just such a trip. Again, being locked in a door, she's seeing a ghost, she's seeing the Annabelle doll she knows is number one off limits to be seen. And meanwhile, Lorraine already knows something's wrong. She's already gotten Ed. They're racing home because they know something's going on. She can feel it. And their daughter's just screaming for help. And the Nana comes down and is trying to open the door. It's just chaotic. It's not even tension anymore. It's just chaos. Lorraine and Ed get in there. The Bathsheba starts to turn towards her. It's just crazy how tense this feels. And the thing is, like, what are they going to do to the daughter? Like, we haven't seen anything be done to people. We've seen like physical elements here and there, but like, what are you going to do to the daughter? You know what I mean? And they break in just in time to save her. The chair comes crashing over, which is insane. The daughter's pleading. Annabelle's out. And Ed looks and see that Annabelle's locked in. So, but you can't like disregard what she said, because you literally saw the chair smash from across the room as you saved your daughter. So it's just like this chaotic scene of like, oh, we bring our work home with us sometimes, and the daughter has to deal with that. Yeah. Just that scene just is crazy, man.
Well, she's a kid, she's gonna want to know what her parents do, and it's like, obviously you tell a kid, don't touch that, it's off limits. It's only going to be more appealing to them because there's no way that she actually grasps the severity of it all. Obviously she doesn't have the context that her parents do. I want to talk really quick about a few of the performances and just kind of shout out some folks. Obviously, I think Patrick Wilson does a great job. Some folks do get Patrick Wilson's Ed Warren character confused with his Insidious character, just because it's both with James Wan and it's a dad and stuff. So I'm saying I think he does a great job in distinguishing both of them. He plays this one a little bit more like stern and sure, and of the times. But Vera Farmiga is the MVP of the Conjuring movies because she does such a masterful job in showing you what she sees without you being able to see it. So there's a part, obviously, when she comes over to the house and she is taking notice of the things that are, well, the demon that's hanging around this witch. Actually, it's a witch. It's just every discovery she makes of where the witch hung herself, where the witch is, where, certain things are hot spots and stuff. There's just like it's such a hard thing to describe because it's terror, but it's also like hope. There's some hope attached to it. Like she makes her eyes big, and she's concerned, but she's not overly scared to where she's going to run away. She's, scared. And when you talk to the real Lorraine Warren, they say, or I think they may have asked her, like, how do you know when you're in an area that is either touched by a spirit or their spirits are active? She says, I know because once I go into a room or am I around a person, I feel scared. I'm scared. And I think Vera Farmiga does a fantastic job of showing that. So I do want to make sure that I shout that out. What's really cool, I think, a nice little tidbit is, I don't know how 100% true it is, because obviously the real Carolyn did mention, and the kids were referring to Bathsheba as a real person that happened, or like they existed. What's really cool in the tie-in is Lorraine is doing a lot of the research and finds like these are, this isn't the first family that's fallen prey to this witch and all her bullshit. Bathsheba apparently is related to Marytown Esty, who is one of the witches killed during the Salem witch trials. So she says that in the movie. And what's so freaking cool, because it's like, hey, if that's accurate, fuck yeah. If it's not, well, at least it's a really cool thing that you said, because it's like it's like tying it to something that has weight, right? But in Lorraine's, and I'll get to, a little bit more of the backstory, right? So when I say that Lorraine did some research, it was important to find out, like, well, let's figure out what the hell is going on, and if anybody else who owned this house had previous experiences, right? And apparently they had. But all that to say, what happened was that Bathsheba married a man, had a child, and when the child was 7 days old, very, very young baby, she sacrificed the child and said, professed her love for Satan, and then hung herself there on the property. And right before she hung herself, she cursed anyone who would try to take her land. So anyone moving into the house is taking her land, because the land actually was pretty substantial. It was a pretty huge tract when she was alive. And then it got subdivision and partition and stuff had sold off. That's why when they're doing their research, there's all these like deaths all over the place. But the reason I'm kind of like honing in on a point here is because these are the original, or one of the first, paranormal investigators in Ed and Lorraine Warren. Some of the first actually who started using a lot of technology, what we would see today in all these like ghost hunter shows. There's a really good short out there called Ghost Show. Y'all should check it out. And what I wrote in my notes is they have a little bit of a motley crew, right? They got their tech guy. They've got obviously themselves. They consult a priest who does show up, but they also they're not trying to do anything like secret or like trying to screw everybody over. It's like when you do something like a stunt and you don't want to have like an ambulance hanging around like for in case it goes wrong. Like you want to like dot your I's and cross your T's. In this case, they have a real cop, a real law enforcement dude who is part of their crew just to make sure that like, you know, everything's okay and to lend a hand and stuff. That is such a fun little team that they have going on there, because you've got the tech guy and then you've got the cop, and they have fun back and forth. Obviously the cop is a bit of a skeptic, right? But what I want to say, the point I'm trying to make here is sometimes when you watch this shit that passes as ghost hunting today, a lot of the technology, it's kind of overdone. It's kind of overkill. I think it takes the creepy aspect of it away. You know, there's something kind of easy breezy about one person, maybe two, going into a haunted house, having minimal like gadgets and such, so that they could, you know, experience the aesthetic, so to speak, right? When they're setting up the technology and Ed's like setting up the cameras and such, I don't feel like it takes it away. Quite frankly, I think it adds to the terror, because they're setting up sensors and trip sensors, so, you know, sort of, where if someone walks by something, it's going to trip it and it's going to take a picture, because they're trying to like get data, and they're trying to get pictures and proof or whatnot. If you set up the way these things go off in a way that is kind of scary in itself, and the surrounding sort of elements are already kind of tense, it adds to it. The one thing is, you know, all the things are set up in the house. They're kind of just waiting for things to happen. Everyone's just kind of chilling. And then one of the daughters, of course, is sleepwalking, and she's starting to trip the cameras. And all you hear, besides some of the like dialogue, are the cameras going off. And that, I think that adds to it, is what I was trying to say.
100%. The fun part about that was even the dad goes like, why are we taking pictures of her? They had set up that those are actually like thermal cameras. So it picks up like cold signatures, like way too cold to be human. So when they're going and setting it off, you, the audience, are like, oh, what's that? Yeah, she's tripping off the cameras. No, there's something with her. There's something following her. And that's what Ed kind of comes in and says, like, no, there's something right there with her. And then she gets locked into the room. It makes it even more terrifying. But they were so brilliant in like, that was like 10 minutes before it happened. It was set up as like, this is only thermal. This is for cold signatures, not for humans or not for motion. This is for cold signatures that walk by. So when the daughter's walking by, it's set up so perfectly. Like, it's just, you're right. It's scary because of the way it's set up. And technology can be scary. The way it's filmed is scary. You know what I mean? Like, they did a really cool job of like making the camera look like it's a 70s POV and then still giving you high def. You know what I mean? So it's like, you're still there. You're not like, they're not trying to do what a lot of movies at this time were trying to do, which was do the POV handheld camera sort of thing. They kind of do it, but they don't throw in a bunch of grit because it's the 70s. It's still HD. You know what's happening. They played with the cameras and everything so well. I just had a really good time with it. Even the long shots, and that's what I was referencing earlier from the 70s horror movies like Texas, those really big shots where people are having dialogue in the distance. You don't really see that as much anymore, especially in that kind of shot, you know what I mean? So it was shot really well. It feels claustrophobic, especially when they're hunting in the house, and that's really cool. Again, you feel like you're a part of the hunt. You feel like you were part of the hunt for finding Carolyn, especially at the end, which gets even more and more claustrophobic. When one of the kids gets stuck under the floorboard, you're like, what the fuck is happening? It's just insane to have a possessed person going through these small quarters, you know what I mean? And everything going off, just terrifying. And you're right, that motley crew, the cop, is hilarious.
Oh, he's got the line that kind of steals the show, right? Drew, I need a UV light. Ed asks him, go down, give me the UV light because they're looking for April, right? Because she's hiding. I think it's April. It's one of the daughters that's behind the armoire that when Lorraine goes in, talk about the claustrophobia. Yeah, that's when she like goes in between the walls and such and then falls down eventually all the way down to the cellar where she encounters not only Bathsheba, but some of the other ghosts that are still lingering that were victims of Bathsheba. But anyway, they're looking for the daughter and she went into this room and everything else is locked. She should be here. So Ed sends the cop. I'm going to get the cop's name real quick. Sends Brad on his way. He goes, I need a UV light. He's like, a what? He goes, ask Drew, who's the tech guy. And he goes down there and it's such a like a PA on set. He's like, Drew, I need a UV light. He doesn't know what the hell it is, but he's very clear with it. I love moments like that because that's, it's kind of like the Tucker and Specs of Insidious. There's like some like levity to the situation, but hey, we're pretty much needing to get to the moment here. All the cards are pretty much on the table. Bathsheba has fully possessed Carolyn, and they think the best thing right now with all the what the Warrens have to do is take the proof that they have from the pictures and the videos and stuff like that, because one of the kids is basically pulled around the house by her hair and it was caught on video. They have to go, as is per the steps, they have to go to the church, show a priest proof of demonic possession, get the church to okay it, and then a priest will perform the exorcism because only priests in the Catholic Church perform exorcisms. So in the midst of all that, they recommend that the parents leave the house and go stay in a motel. And they do. While Ed is showing this stuff to the priest, and the priest is now on, he's got to go get approval. In between that time, they're not going to get the approval in time. So shit needs to happen, because what ends up happening is that Carolyn, who is possessed by Bathsheba, takes two of her daughters, takes Christine and April, gets them in the car and drives them back to the house, because what's she going to do? The thing that is Bathsheba's MO. She possesses the mother to kill the children, because when she was alive, she killed her child. So now the poor girls, I feel so bad for them because they know something's up when Carolyn is driving, and they're like, Mom, where are we going? And she's just like ignoring him. She's not talking to him. And you could see, Lily Taylor, she freaking kills it, man, because she's also got such an innocence of her face naturally. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie The Haunting. I think it was like in 97. Yeah. So she's been in a haunted house movie, right? But everybody knows what's happening. Lorraine picks it up. She's like, oh, shit. She possesses the mother to get to the children. We got to go. So Ed's on the phone with the dad. He says, get to the house right now. Meet me there. So pretty much Ed, Lorraine, Brad, Drew, which is their crew, are all there, plus the husband, plus Carolyn, and plus April and Christine. And then if you count Bathsheba, she's there too. All go back to the house, and when they end up finding Carolyn, she is about to stab Christine. She's going to kill her in the cellar, and they're able to pry her away, and Lily Taylor is going for it. She is screaming. She is throwing her body around. There's a lot going on, and they try to get Carolyn out of the house. And right when they get her to the threshold, she's been kicking and screaming the whole time. What a great effect, man. Like her neck starts to welt up, and like you could hear like sizzling bacon sort of thing. Basically, that she was not going to let her leave the house or she's going to kill her. So Lorraine sees that right away, and it's like, we got to, let her go. Well, even if they don't want to let her go, one of the cool, scary scenes, Carolyn gets flung down, is going to be pulled back to the cellar, and by Bathsheba, the entity, right? And she screams to her husband to help her. Oh my God, I get chills just because it's like you can imagine what she's going through, the terror, and she's screaming for her husband to help, and she just gets sucked down to the cellar and basically sets up what's going to be the final, encounter.
Yeah, the final encounter. Let's tie her down and get it out of her. Basically, Ed makes the decision, like, we don't have a priest here. We have to get her unpossessed quickly. It's down to us, basically. So this scene is like pretty terrifying. This is what I remember. What I remember my first viewing, like, oh, this is The Exorcist now. Like, it's a very quick version of it, but this becomes very much an exorcism movie like that. And you've got Lorraine and Ed and the husband down there. We haven't said his name once. Do you know his name?
I want to keep calling him Ron because he's played by Ron Livingston, but it's Roger. I knew it was an R. Roger. Yeah. So Roger's down there too to help. And it's a good exorcism scene. I mean, there's a lot of this going on back then. There's a lot of exorcism movies. I think Emily Rose had already been out. Obviously, The Exorcist had it, but that's when all these exorcism movies started to kind of trickle out. But it's a pretty terrifying one, and the transition of Carolyn turning into basically Bathsheba. There's moments there where her face is starting to turn, which is very Exorcist. But there's full on like head turn when you actually see Bathsheba. And again, it's so shocking to see the difference of the two that you're like, oh, shit, there it is again. They do such a great job of revealing that and doing the transition, but them covering her at one point with a sheet, and then she spits out blood. It's just like there's these elements that are so terrifying. One light in the entire cellar as well, right on top of her, just lighting her. Everything else is in darkness. Great antique collection, by the way. My wife would be just dying for that. Those are all left behind, apparently, too. So that's your first sign to get the hell out of there. Somebody left all these treasures behind, all these antiques. Mm-hmm. But yeah, this scene, man, like, it's one of the better like exorcism pieces of the time, I think. Oh, I wholeheartedly agree. It's still all right. This is the part of the episode, folks, that I'm going to try my hardest to get through without getting emotional. But it's a different type of emotion, Lance, that I don't think I've ever really articulated, at least not in one of our episodes. Obviously, folks, there is an exorcism happening, and it's on to Ed, who's trying his best, but he's not a priest. And yes, Lance mentioned that it's very jarring. And, Christine has been saved and put in the car by Drew, but we're still looking for April. And we're trying to keep the girls away from Carolyn so that she doesn't kill him. But Drew has been going on this excursion of trying to find April, and then he finally hears that she's crying under the floor in the kitchen. And he takes a crowbar, busts open the door, or the floor, excuse me, and sees down there is April. And he thinks it's a great idea, apparently, to call out exactly where she is. Yeah. Once he does, Bathsheba, Carolyn, does like a head jolt to where the voice is coming from, and it's very scary. But classic demon possessed person, very like frantic movements, and then takes off kind of feral style on pretty much her hands and legs, and like charges after where April is. So she has to go under the house, and April, pobrecita, she's just trying to like, she's scared because it's her mom, but doesn't look like her mom because yes, she completely transforms. So it gets to the part basically where, because of the feralness, animal style of how Carolyn can crawl around, she gets to April, and nobody else can really get to her because one's like a normal. uh, so she has April pretty much in her clutches. And the part of this whole thing that would make me emotional is kind of like some of the emotions that would kind of come up when I was like watching The Exorcism of Emily Rose, is that I do believe in God. And I'd like to think that I try my best to believe in the teachings of Jesus and hope that I'm doing my best to be a good person. So there's a line that Ed has, and in any exorcism, or at least ones that are depicted in movies and such, knowing the name of the entity gives you power over it. You can cast it out harder, right? Which is interesting because this isn't a demon from hell. This is a deceased witch. So it's like a subgenre, but not as powerful as like a full on demon. Anyway, they've known this witch's name, Bathsheba, and from one end you have Lorraine, who is still very strong in her faith, but like Ed is, at least in the Conjuring movies, Ed talks about like belief in God and, you know, uses his crucifix and things of that nature. But Lorraine had a sweet moment with Carolyn before she got all Bathsheba'd, which is talking about this moment of a picture frame that they have of all the daughters, the whole family, everybody's together on the beach. So you have Lorraine trying to make contact with Carolyn to put her hands on her so she can, like, you know, because she's got that gift of when it's like a, how'd she say, it's like a peek behind the curtain or something when she touched somebody. So she's trying to get Carolyn to fight the moment and remember that day because it was a good day. And if she remembers her family, then she'll be able to fight Bathsheba. But on the other side is actually, while that's sweet, and I say up here because Lorraine is trying to get to her from the kitchen floor, Ed has found his way under the house as well, and he is basically, you know, his head is just sticking through, like, you know, between two boards, and he is coming face to face with Bathsheba, and he says her name finally. He says Bathsheba, and turns and looks right at Ed, and I'm giving myself chills already. But it's this moment because it's like, I wonder what I would do if I were to come face to face with something evil like that the only thing that you have to fight it is your faith. And Ed had been kind of struggling with his reciting of the Roman ritual. You know, he wasn't like fumbling or anything, but it's just, you know, he's reading. And it's not something he knows. So it's working, but it's not really working. So I take this moment as what do you do in that moment where you want to fight a spirit and all you have is your faith and your words? And he hits her with Bathsheba, by the power of God. And I'm paraphrasing, but he just kind of layman's it. You know, just kind of puts to like normal speak. He's like, by the power of God, I command you to get out, to leave this vessel, to leave this woman, to, you know, let her go. And it's just kind of the way like this camera kind of zooms in on Ed's face. And I think what ultimately feeds into why I get a little bit emotional in this moment is because he wins. God wins. Evil is defeated. And I love that. I want to believe that if you're true and if you're good and you want to fight evil, it will be there. Faith will get you through. So I love that moment because it gives me the chills, because it's like, I've thought about that multiple times. I'm like, shoot, what if it's a situation where there's a demon in the house and I've got my holy water, but all I'm doing is just like throwing the holy water? It's like you gotta have the words too. You know, you gotta have the gusto, you gotta have the power. And I love that scene for that, because remember I mentioned earlier there's two major themes. Yeah, the religious part is part of it. And I do like that. I do, because God wins. You know what I'm saying? He they beat the forces of evil, and it's a really cool moment. So, and then of course, the image of the beach and the family and the soft piano starts to come in, and you kind of see that she being Carolyn is gonna fight and be able to expel the demon. But here's a funny thing, though. Her face doesn't go back to normal right away. I've always thought about that moment at the end of The Exorcist. And eventually we're going to get into talking about The Exorcist. But at the end of it, when basically Pazuzu has left Reagan and gone into Father Karras, and Reagan is now in the corner crying out for her mom, but Reagan's still all cut up and looking all like fucked up and shit. And she's like, mother. And the mom is like, is it you? Is it you? So there's a moment where the camera just kind of looks at Carolyn, like she's like smiling and crying and happy, but her head is all still like, it's all still like demon. And I'm just like, if I'm the kid, I'm like, get back to normal.
As you were describing the scene, all I could remember was Lorraine. Well, first Ed poking his head in there, and I'd be like, fuck that shit. There's a demon in there, or there's a fucking witch. I wouldn't do that. Look at her.
Exactly.
The other thing is that Lorraine like pushes her hand down on top of her head.
Yes.
Like, fuck, you are touching Carolyn / Bathsheba. Like it's like so crazy to think that you're like touching. That's one thing that I actually really love about Ed and Lorraine is just, you mentioned it earlier a little bit, it's just how calm and cool that they are with all this.
Yes.
How much reality it is to them, even to the point where there's one scene where they're actually doing an investigation for somebody else and they disprove that there's anything wrong. They said, this is usually the case. It's like their heater or something was like hitting the pipes and stuff. That's what I've always appreciated with like paranormal shows nowadays, is like, they're like, no, you just got some bad pipes or some electrical wires making you kind of go a little nuts. They've kind of added that in. Like, they're such professionals that they know in this moment, using their faith and using her family to make her fight this possession, because they established that Carolyn is not religious. So this is on Ed using his religion, and Lorraine really using her family to fight this thing. It's a really brilliant scene. I think that's the thing about Ed and Lorraine, why they never take it too seriously, but they do. You know what I mean? It makes them real. They're real people, which makes them likable in the movie. And that follows them throughout. And that's really cool. And that's why you're right, good versus evil. That's what it is in the end, and good wins. So just the claustrophobia of this scene, though, I've always thought about that. Like, imagine The Exorcist, but not strapped to a bed, but being between the walls of an old house with a child that you're trying to save. It's again, tension and chaos in one. And it's just, it adds to the terrifying. Plus there's the transformation happening. Like I said, you get quick reveals of Bathsheba and it's terrifying. And you're like, fuck, like what is going to happen? You really don't know, but good wins in the end. So that's all that matters.
Yeah, it's a sweet moment. And I think overall what makes this movie plus every Conjuring movie that Ed and Lorraine Warren appear or have like a key, like their key characters, what makes it work is their relationship. Whatever you want to believe and or make your opinion about the real Ed and Lorraine Warren, that's totally fine. It's on you. What I will say is the depiction of Ed and Lorraine Warren, played by Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson, is very, very touching, and it's sweet. Yeah. And I think for the movie and for the stories they're trying to tell, it's the key element that needs to be there. You cannot have, yes, you can have cannon fodder for our favorite genre, our slashers. You can, and it'll be fine. You know, it'll be fine. It's that type of movie. But if you care about the characters and there are real stakes attached, you'll care about situations that they are going to be put in that might cause them harm. So anything that they go in, it's that more heavy. It's that more important. It's that more real. And that's what I love about this movie, that it has a perfect balance of showing the humanity aspects of it and what Ed and Lorraine bring to this family and what this family already has. It's important. You have to care about the characters. If not, if they get their heads chopped off, it's not going to really affect you that much. I mean, to a certain degree, but you know, if you care about them, I think it'll make for a more intense watch.
Truly. Yeah. I really enjoy the movie. It's really attached itself to me. It's a heavy feeling watching the film. You're terrified, you're connected. It's not a slasher by any means. It's not fun. It's not cannon fodder. Like you said, there's none of those characters. You care about everybody. Even the cop that comes in at the very end has some funny moments. Yeah. Gets attacked and becomes maybe a little bit of a believer. They even kind of said like, He says something like, "Yeah, I'll take on a gunman any day." Over that, whatever the hell that was.
He gets his part of his cheek bit off by Bathsheba. So
yeah. Again, not much gore in this, but that was one of the moments. Again, to put some stakes on it, some physical stakes, maybe on what Bathsheba and Carolyn are capable of. But overall, like, really enjoy the movie. Some of these scenes, oh God. Something moved over here that hasn't moved the entire time we've been talking, and it just freaked me out because I'm thinking about the darkest scenes of this movie. Yeah, something's here with us. Oh, I got stories to tell you, Danny. I really enjoy the movie, and if you haven't seen it after listening to all this, go see it or go watch it now. It's got to be in your top 10, top 20, whatever. Danny, what else you got about The Conjuring?
I think just kind of echoing that and what I said in the beginning. I don't shy away from making the bold claim about this movie. I think it. I'm not going to say that I was dreading a watch of The Conjuring to get ready for this episode. I will say that I had to get ready. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's echoing what you said, that it's a heavy movie, and it's scary. But I think, quite frankly, as far as possession movies go, and how for the longest time the Exorcist stood there and on a mountain by itself as like the ultimate possession movie. Yeah. Have there been great possession movies since The Exorcist? Yes, there have. Will they have the impact that The Exorcist had? Probably not. That's a different time and such. But this movie in 2013, The Conjuring, is one of the best possession movies in the horror movie genre, and will go down as forever being a classic. And I will say this as my final thought for this movie is that in the Conjuring universe, there are many spin-offs: Annabelle's, Nuns, La Llorona, and then multiple Conjuring installments too. I actually prefer Conjuring 2 over Conjuring 1.
Wow.
And that is exactly where I'm going to leave that for a future conversation.
It's funny because I've seen The Conjuring 2 more. I know that movie more than this one because I think the heaviness of this one maybe. Could that be. One's just been on a lot. I don't know what it is. There's a lot more things to that movie, but Wow. I'm surprised to hear that. With that said, how many holy waters do you give The Conjuring, Danny?
I will give The Conjuring Part 1, the original Conjuring, a very comfortable 5 holy waters.
Wow. 5 holy waters. Gee, I wonder what Conjuring 2 will get. For one scene alone, I will give it 5 holy waters. I really was thinking like this is a 4 for me, but man, watching some of these scenes and connecting to them and truly being scared, feeling it in my body, being scared. It's a staple. You got to put it up there in the top. So, wow, that's a big one for us. And check it off the list. Hey, that was asked for. So awesome. All right. Until next time, that's Danny and I'm Lance reminding you to
lock your doors,
bolt your windows,
and
join us next time in our Slasher's Paradise.
Lance, I need a UV light. Hey, did you see anything you like?
Thanks for checking out Slasher's Paradise tonight. Be kind and rewind by liking and subscribing to our videos on YouTube at Dead Candy.
And if you'd like to continue supporting us wherever you do get your podcasts, we just ask that you rate and review us 5 stars. And if you don't know what to write in the review section, put a horror movie recommendation you'd like for Lance and I to talk about. Also, please visit us on Instagram at Slasher's Paradise.
If you need even more Slasher's Paradise, head over to slashersparadise.com where you can get drink recommendations, our favorite episodes, and more. Until next time, remember to
lock your doors,
bolt your windows.
And this is Slasher's Paradise. Sorry, I had to work that in.
I'm going to drink on that one.
Okay. Blended Canadian.